Hi everyone, today let's try to solve this problem, open the lock. So we're given a lock with 4 circular wheels and each wheel has 10 slots for the digits between 0 to 9. Okay, and the digits can rotate freely. So 9 can become 0 and 0 can become 9. Okay, I think this is clear. So now let's try to understand the question. So we are going to start with 0 0 0 0, which is going to be the initial lock key, and we have to see if a target is possible from the lock from 0 0 0 and the shortest amount of steps which will be required to form the target. Okay, so here they gave us an example. Suppose there is 0 2 0 0 0 2 0 2. The sequence of valid moves is going to be all zeros, then 1 and all zeros, then 1 1 0 0, 1 2 0 0, 1 2 0 1, this and this. You can see that 4 step is also possible, but in the 4 step, right, we're going to encounter 0 1 0 2, which is a dead end. So we can't rotate from that particular way. So that's not possible. So now let's try to figure out how this can be done. I've written the example for us. So suppose we have 0 0 0 0, the number of ways to iterate. So whenever they say shortest path, right, BFS should always come to our mind. Okay, and when BFS comes to our mind, let's try to figure out what the next step here will be. One way is we can iterate through every digit. So here it can become 1 0 0 0, or it can become 9 0 0 0. Okay, similarly it can become 0 1 0 0 0 9 0 0. Like these are all the possible directions in the first step. 0, then 0 0 9 0, then 0 0 0 1, and 0 0 0 9. Okay, and we can see that if there's any dead end, we have to not iterate through it. Okay, and now we can see that for each way, right, we have 8 possibilities. For each digit we have 2 possibilities. Now let's say we have this. One thing is that it can come to 0 0 0 again, but we don't want to go to a node which we have already visited. So we have to make sure that we don't iterate through the same nodes again. Okay, and apart from that, we have to figure out a logic. How can we iterate through, how can we form all these strings from this string? Okay, so we know that there's definitely going to be 4 strings in the array. So one thing we can do is, for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus. So this will indicate each position. Now for each digit, right, we can either add 1 or subtract 1. Okay, and in the case of, it's always cyclic. So in the case of 9, plus 1 will be equal to 0 and minus 1 should be equal to 8. In the case of 0, plus 1 should be equal to 1 and minus 1 should be equal to 9. Okay, so one thing we can see is that all the digits are between 0 to 9. So we know that if anything like this is given, we can use the constraint modulus 10. So let's try to do it. One way is going to be plus 1 and another way is going to be minus 1. We have to iterate through this. So for that, let's use another variable d, and I is always less than or equal to 1. It starts with minus 1, it's less than or equal to 1, and then d plus plus. D plus is equal to 2. We can iterate from, so it's basically iterating from d is equal to minus 1 and 1. And now what we can do is, for that particular character, right, for that particular integer here, so let's say it's going, that integer is going to be x, we're going to add d. Okay, so suppose it's 0. If we add d, it's minus 1. Modulus 10 is going to be minus 1. So let's add a 10 as well. 10 modulus 10. Okay, so this is going to be our basic logic for iterating through all the cases. Okay, and now so let's try to implement a BFS using this. So what we're going to do is, we're going to add where the count is going to initially be equal to 0, which is our answer, which is the amount of the distance it takes to reach a particular node, the shortest distance it takes. So once we do this, we're going to initially add this to the queue, and we're also going to add it to a visiting set. Set 0000. It's already visited. Okay, now one thing we have to make sure is we have to iterate through the queue while queue is not empty. Okay, and while we do this, right, one thing we have to do is we have to get the size. Int size of the queue is going to be queue dot size, and then we're going to start a while loop while size is greater than 0. Okay, we have to do a couple of operations and decrease the size every time, size minus minus. Okay, and whenever we exit this loop, that's when our count is going to be increased. So what are we going to do now? We have to poll queue. We have to get the string str is equal to queue dot poll. Okay, and now if this poll, right, if this string is in our dead set, then we have to continue, right? We don't want to continue when we encounter a dead set. Also, if it is equal to our target, if str is equal to target, then we have to return count. Otherwise, we have to iterate through all the strings here and put it into our loop. To iterate through all the strings possible and put it into our loop. And at the end, finally, let's return -1 in the case we don't encounter the target string. Okay, so it's basically a BFS implementation. Let's try to code it out and see if it actually works. Okay, so let me just form a dead set first. Okay, and this dead set, let's populate the values. Okay, and now what we have to do is we have to iterate through all the now let's create a queue which will help us obtain the answer. Along with this, let's also create a visited set. This is also a queue of strings. Okay, so now what are we going to do? We're going to let's add the first element. We always know that we're going to start with, let's use queue.offer. Okay, and along with that, let's add to the visited set as well. Okay, this seems fine. Now let's start our BFS, and let's have our answer variable here, which is count, which is basically the distance, while q dot is empty. While it's not empty, right, let me find size. Okay, now while size is greater than 0, and at this point our one level is done. Okay, so I'm increasing the counter at that point. So at this stage, let's try to figure out what our logic has to be. One thing is, let's get the value from the queue. Okay, and once I got the value, right, what do I have to do? I have to check if the dead set contains this, right, that means I've passed through this level. I don't want to do anything, but I have to make sure I'm using, because I'm using size to iterate, right, so I have to decrease size here, as I'm not going to do end up at line 24. And next, if dot equals target, in this case we can just return count, which is going to be our answer. Okay, and otherwise now we have to iterate through all the possibilities. So for that, as we discussed, let's have int I is equal to 0, I is less than 4, I plus plus, since we know that the string is of fixed length 4. Okay, and now here, right, let us get let's use another variable, int d is equal to -1, d is less than or equal to 1, because it's just 0 and 1 and we're going to iterate it twice. Okay, and now what do I have to do? I have to calculate that value. So let me say int y is going to be equal to, what is going to be the value of the string? It's going to be first what is the original character at that particular point, caret I, right? For every character of I, let me convert it into an integer. So now if the char is 0, it's going to become now this will give an integer 0, and for this I'm going to add d, which is -1, this modulus 10. Okay, and now we have to replace our string. We have to create a string. So the new string, new str, is going to be str dot substring from 0 to the ith position. I is not going to be included in substring, plus str dot substring, the ith character is being replaced, so from the ith plus 1th character. Okay, and now if we are going to add it to our queue for it to be iterated again only if it has not been visited, right? So what we can do is we can let's do if new str dot visited not visited, visited is also a hash set, so visited dot contains new str. If it doesn't contain, that means we encountered a new string, and for that new string, right, let's add it to the queue. And along with that, let's also add it to the visited array. Okay, and now we're going to iterate to this count, and if this doesn't work out, right, if all this it enters this row, then we have to return -1, as we didn't encounter any of the as we didn't encounter a target string. Now let's see if it actually works. Okay, steer.char at. Let's see if typecasting is necessary. Okay, look like these 3 test cases passed. Let's just submit it and see if the code works. Okay, so the code does look fine. It is accepted. I hope this is understandable. This is a bit complicated question as we're using the concept of BFS. But yeah, I think with practice everyone should be able to solve these type of questions. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.